Hello, everybody. Welcome to our crazy panel on scaling up climate literacy. My name is Melanie Harwood from eduCCate Global. And before we start, because we don't want you all to be running for the hills, each one of our panel has a glass of sparkling water, and we are going to be raising our glasses to you and to our team for this fabulous talk. Nothing boring, everything interesting, and we can assure you, you will stay to the very end. Thank you very much. Cheers. So our chat today is going to be about scaling up climate literacy, carbon literacy, transition and transformation. Now, eduCCate Global launched the Climate Change Teacher Course on the 22nd of April 2019, and that went viral to more than 329,000 schools in 43 countries. But we got it all wrong. We couldn't just have one climate change teacher in every school, and our content was just not up to muster. I mean, I bet you nobody ever says this, do they, in a talk? And does any education provider ever say, we got it wrong, it was all, it was just not right? So what we've done is we've built levels of foundation level, then a follow-on level, and then that's where Petra and Professor Florian come in. We've got esteemed guests. We've got Professor Petra Moulton-Hill from Nottingham Trent University Business School. We've got Florian Kappmeyer from Reutlingen University Business School, and we have some other very special guests here today as well. Now, as we've gone on our journey with eduCCate Global, our personal mission is to upskill 100 million teachers throughout the world. I wanted to do it in 12 months and everybody said, no, I can't, it's not going to happen. So I'm quite sure we could do it in 12 months, but we're going to set a potential extension to that. If we can upskill 100 million teachers in the world within the next 24 months to confidently deliver MAT. And you're all going to say, what is MAT? Mitigation, adaptation, transition, transformation. And that's why we have Claire Robinson with us, the amazing head teacher from Home Grange School. And then everybody's going to ask us, but how can you prove with evidence that this actually delivers the core competences? And that's why Dr. Julian Ong is with us. And then you're going to say, but how can we afford this? And that's why Alan Green is here. He's going to tell us how we are going to fund this so that you can all access this incredible content and learning CPD for your staff, your pupils, and your wider community. I'm going to open this with Professor Moulton-Hill, and she's going to be talking to us about the carbon literacy teacher training and where we see that going. So welcome, Petra.
So hello, everyone. I would like to tell you a bit more about the carbon literacy training, especially where it came from. I think a lot of you, because a lot of you are from the UK, you will know about Coronation Street. You might not like it, but you know that it does exist. And for people who are outside the UK, Coronation Street is one of the very popular soaps in the UK, which is running since, I think, 1960. And a lot of people watch it every night. It's about 8 million every night who watch Coronation Street. I was very fortunate that I actually could understand what they have done with regards to carbon literacy training. So I was doing some research with them in 2017, where I investigated how they actually had done it in all the different areas of the show. So whether it was in the production team, so whether it was costumes or props or sounds, or whether it was in the editorial. For example, they put something in the storyline and you might not notice it because I didn't notice it. I was actually preparing myself for the research and I thought, oh, I watch a lot of Coronation Street and I will know exactly what they have done with carbon literacy, with sustainability. And I found it really hard because if there's a murder going on in the foreground, I was like, Petra, concentrate on the carbon literacy, on sustainability. This is what you're trying to do here. And I was always distracted. So who actually murdered this person? I was kind of distracted by the storyline as well. So it's very subtle, but it's in the background. And you might not have noticed this if you do watch Coronation Street, but there's a lot of messages integrated actually in Coronation Street. But obviously they have to make sure that they are not too preachy because there are people who are viewing it, they wouldn't like it. So they make it very subtle, but you might maybe tonight everyone is watching Coronation Street. I don't know if this is then the result of this speech. But anyway, so what I was really impressed by what they are doing. And by the way, I'm not paid by them to say they are doing a really good job with carbon literacy, but they do reduce their greenhouse gas emissions loads. And it's really quite amazing. And I actually signed a confidentiality agreement, so I can't share any more about what they are doing, but I was really impressed by the work they have done and also by the carbon literacy training. So I thought, if this is working so well in the television sector, why could it not also work in other areas and engage other people? Because when I asked these people, everyone was engaged, whether it was the head of the departments or someone who has just started with Coronation Street, everyone could tell me things they were doing. And I was quite impressed by how it had gone through to everyone, not only the head of departments giving me a speech, but everyone actually knowing what they are doing, how they are reducing it, what they have achieved in the last few years. So I thought, okay, let's try to actually transfer to other area. And the first one, because I'm from a business school and I'm a professor in a business school, I was transferring it to business schools. And I was actually as I have trained, it was ready in October 2019, and since then we have trained over 400 academics in lots of different business schools all across the world in all the different continents, Australia, US, Europe, all the different areas we have actually trained people. And then actually one of these trainings, I had the pleasure that Melanie was attending and said, okay, I'm not from a business school, but I would like to see this training. And she attended our training last September. And this is actually how it started. And we thought, okay, why not actually use this training now to bring it actually to schools? And this is where you all come in. And we hope that you are actually doing a similar job like the Coronation Street people did, that you actually say, okay, let's get everyone trained up, because I think this is something really everyone needs to know, because everyone needs to make these decisions. And you can see that a lot of people at the moment people go vegan, for example, or they do start to do in the last 2 years, lots of people have made changes to their own lifestyle, but often you need some deeper knowledge about it. So for example, you can have a really totally vegan lifestyle, but still cause loads of carbon emissions. Also, for example, if you are in the UK and you eat asparagus in December, you might actually do a really bad thing. It might be whether you had a beef burger instead, because asparagus has to be flown in and so on. So it's as you have to really understand these things in much more detail to make the informed decision. And this publicity training is really about. It's kind of giving you ideas what the solutions are. And these are small solutions, like about your own life of the kid. You have catering in the school, for example, you could change the catering in the school in this regard, or be more things high impact which are more done on a bigger scale. So it would be obviously a whole school doing it, for example, transforming your gardens, that they are really good carbon sinks. A lot of people don't know about carbon sinks. If you don't know about it and you think, oh, what is she now talking about? I don't know this word. Come to our training and you will know about it. We will tell you about it and you will know what a carbon sink is. And you, for example, could transform all your gardens to be really nice carbon sinks. And we will teach you these things as well in the carbon literacy trainings. There are loads of solutions you can implement, and we will also share with you things where you can understand what are high impact solutions and what are really low impact solutions, so that you actually can again make a good measurement, because there are loads of solutions. You sometimes might feel overwhelmed when you read it in the newspaper and so on, but actually it is quite a nice way of understanding, oh yeah, if I drink coffee, this happening. If I drink wine, this is happening, and you can make all these distinctions. And I think this is what we are really focusing on the carbon literacy training. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
So
I got my knuckles wrapped earlier this week because I put a massive, well, which is normal. I put a fantastic press release out saying the world's first certified carbon literacy teachers, because they are, Now, we're going to introduce you to Claire Robinson, who is the head teacher of Home Grange School. And her school have done the foundation training, bronze, silver, gold, and she's got something very exciting to tell you all about. What happened as a result of doing this training, the basics, the intermediate now, and where she's going with it. And then once Claire has spoken, we're going to have a chat with Florian about how En-ROADS fits into that. Go for it, Claire. The floor is yours.
Okay, hi, hello, and yeah, I'm Claire Robinson, as Mel has said. And my first link with Mel was last summer, and I arranged to have a conversation with her, with some of my team. And I said to Mel, well, this is what we wanted to do. And Mel very foolishly said, you can't do that. And I don't listen. So, so for me, it's about looking at what is possible. It's about looking at things differently. And I think with climate change, we have to be radical and think about how we offer it as a possible hope, not just looking at the despair and the despair convincing element of what climate change is, but give people hope. So we made a decision that as our whole school, we needed our whole community to be engaged with this. So in the summer holidays, every member of staff received an email from me saying that before they returned in September, every member of staff, irrespective of their role in the school, had to undertake some training. And that was one of those units was from Mel's course, and that was the children and climate change. So everybody across the school completed that. And then a group of teachers, including myself, and other senior leaders on the team as well as teachers, because we wanted to lead from the top and have it right way across the school. We took the training for the climate literacy lead teacher. So we had 9 teachers trained for that, including myself. So we then, in the autumn term, ran a symposium, even on site, but we also felt that this had to be more than just us. And you also have to link it with the children, because the children are the ones that are going to be our speakers. They're going to be our voice, and they're very, very powerful. And it's a bit like Homer Simpson. And if you bring Homer Simpson into the world of the children, then he actually said that climate change is actually a crisis opportunity. So it's a crisis that actually gives you an opportunity. And I think that that's really good for us, because we need to look at that opportunity and what that can give us for our children. So we then decided that it couldn't just be us. We wanted to link with other schools. And my dream in the whole of education for our young people is that we work with schools. We work with in partnership with other schools, primary, secondary, independent, state. We all work together. We also work with businesses, and we work with higher education institutions. If we're all working together, we can make a difference and we can make a change. So our next step was to train to become take Petra's course on climate literacy, and that really opened carbon literacy, and that opened people's eyes as to what is carbon literacy, and what does that mean, and the expanse of things that we needed to cover. So we had set up an action plan across our school, and we have a partnership, and we're a hub school, and we're working in conjunction with other schools as well. Even during lockdown, we've hosted events where we've worked with other schools to look at solutions and put action plans in, so that people are looking at the positive steps to move forward. But I really want to take it even further, because I want this to be part of our curriculum. So last year, we revised our curriculum structure, what does it look like, and we did it with our whole community, and it's rooted in sustainability in every element, whether that's about how we communicate, global awareness, about care and responsibility, citizenship, stewardship. All of those elements are included across all subjects. So then how do we get this carbon literacy into our children and into our students? And we go up to 16, we start at 3, and our children, you can use the language with 3-year-olds. Don't dumb the language down. I think we underestimate our young people. So we have to teach them the right language from the very beginning and give them the vocabulary to engage in conversation. Our curriculum was revised last year, and we wanted to do this as a whole community. And we sat down and looked at what is included in our curriculum across the school from 3 to 16. And we wanted to have it embedded. We have knowledge, skills, values, learning habits, but we wanted to have things like global awareness, citizenship, self-awareness, stewardship, care and responsibility. All of these things needed to be embedded across the curriculum. Then what are we going to teach our young people, and what do we want them to achieve? Because it's not just what their success in school, it's their success beyond their years in school. That's why we want to be working with higher education institutions and with business, because our success as a school is determined by our students' future success. And that's not just in academics, it's in life. So my goal ultimately would be to have a GCSE. There is no GCSE or BTEC qualification currently in any of this area. Our year 9 students, currently, we are proposing to do a project with them and I want it next academic year, where they will have a 15-week unit, because they're going to do it alongside a cooking unit, which will be the sustainable cooking unit that they will study. But they'll do a 15-week sustainability unit. 12 of those weeks will be split up into 4 different specific areas linked to sustainability and carbon literacy. And then they will, at the last 3 weeks, they will take one of those units they've been studying, research it, because again, we want them to research, we want them to explore, we want them to apply critical and creative thinking, and then we want them to present solutions. We want them to be our solution makers for the future. So we want them to then present that so that they're actually having some purpose to what they're studying, and they have the knowledge to then take that further, because we want to energize them, we want to inspire them to take this forward. Our pupils, we have a recycling plant, we have business students. All of this can be linked to what the children are doing with sustainability. So we're on the start of our journey, but it's been a very, very exciting journey, and I could talk forever on it, but I won't, because other people have so much to say.
Thank you, Claire. So we have been working on these GCSEs with various individuals, and we are developing the introduction module. So Claire's school will be the first to trial the sustainability and transition engineering introductory module. Then we'll do a year 10, and then we have these pathways to higher education. And this is where the amazing Professor Florian Kappmeier fits in. Florian has been introduced to us via Petra's incredible carbon literacy teacher training, because in it there was an hour on something called En-ROADS. And we were direct messaging each other going, have you seen this thing? This is just that we've got to find the people that have made this. And would you believe that Petra, for some reason, said, oh, I'm going to introduce you to Professor Kappmeier. And he is working on En-ROADS being delivered throughout all of the secondary schools, the high schools in Germany. And we intend to include that within this scheme of work that we're working on with Home Grange and all the other schools that are trialing it. So Professor Kappmeier, the floor is yours. Take it away.
Thank you very much, Melanie, and thank you all for having me here in this panel. And Claire, congratulations to what you've done so far. This really sounds impressive, and I hope that many, many schools worldwide will take you as a role model and copy what you are doing. This is really fantastic. So yeah, I am a professor at a business school in Germany, at the ESB Business School at the Reutlingen University. And I'm very thankful to have been introduced to Petra. So thank you very much. This was really fantastic, and the basis for our collaboration here in this consortium. I've been collaborating with a US climate think tank, Climate Interactive, and the MIT Sloan Sustainability Initiative, who have been developing interactive climate policy simulation models for decision makers. I've been collaborating with these two for many years, and I'm working on bringing these tools called C-ROADS or En-ROADS, the one that Melanie has just mentioned, to policymakers and decision makers here in Germany. And also high school students. And this is where we are linked. So what is the motivation for Climate Interactive and MIT Sloan to develop these interactive climate simulation models? And the reason for this is very simple, because as Professor Sturman from MIT Sloan has many times mentioned, research shows that showing people research doesn't work. So for the last 26 years, climate researchers have shown PowerPoint slides to decision makers and policymakers and asked them, here, we need to change, and it hasn't really worked. And why is this? Because we learn through experimentation or with experience. Now, the climate system is so complex that learning from experience doesn't work, because when we manipulate the system, it takes a very long time because of all the time delays until we see impacts. And so that's why experience doesn't work. And with experiments, well, we don't want to experiment with the climate system because we cannot go back in time to actually do these tests. So we have to rely on simulation models. Now, the large simulation models by the climate researchers that are out there, they are opaque or black box models, and they are not easy for decision makers to use. This is why Climate Interactive and MIT Sloan have developed these small climate models. They belong to the group of small climate models, which are interactively used by the users. And what's so great about them is that they are fully transparent. They are all the equations are known and laid out, and the model is documented and commented, and it runs on a laptop in less than a second to run a scenario. The historical path of what we see in this simulation model is calibrated to the runs by the large climate simulation models, and also the scenarios are calibrated to scenarios of these different three-dimensional climate models. So in En-ROADS, for example, the latest model is used by policymakers and decision makers all around the world for making educated decisions on climate mitigation. Now, how does this relate to high schools? Well, we have developed workshops and a game, which is a role-playing game, which is called the Climate Action Simulation. And we use these two interactive modes to engage people. And this can be with corporate decision makers, policymakers on different levels, from the top governments until also local governments. And also, so I play these interactions with my students at the university all the time, and they love it. And I'm also testing it with high school students. And this experience is amazing. Students love it. Either the workshop, which is an interactive group experience where the participants test out different climate solutions and they learn about how impactful different solutions are. For example, can we actually solve the climate crisis by planting more trees alone? Is it enough to introduce a carbon price? Is it enough to actually transfer the transportation fleet from internal combustion engines to electric engines? Is it enough to become vegan? And on and on and on and on. So, and then participants and high school students, they learn about what are the impacts of the different solutions. And they learn that, oh, we need to do everything because one lever isn't enough. And there are many, many more special insights, really interesting and sometimes very surprising insights when students develop their scenarios. And this is key, what I said, that they create their own scenarios, because it's not the facilitator who tells the students, hey, this is what we need to do. No, it's their scenario. And they go home and say, hey, we've created a scenario. The other part is that we embed En-ROADS in a simulation, in a role-play simulation. We call this the dual simulation because we simulate the climate system by the tool, which is freely available, enroads.org. Check it out. And then the role-playing game, which is another simulation of the social interactions. And then you have the participants diving into the roles of politicians, of leaders of the industry and commerce, of land and forestry, industry of, you have climate action hawks there, and the facilitator could be me or Claire, for example, being in the role of the UN Secretary General, leading the climate summit. And this game is a lot of fun. And here's a quote by 10 graders of a high school in Germany where I play this, facilitated very often. And for example, students writing has written, I feel like all of us learned something new, not just about climate change, but also about how these conferences work and what it's like for each respective country or stakeholder group. And this other student says, I think that every class should do something like this because it shows something really important that everyone should be aware of. Now I know more about climate change and I want to go into action. How cool is that? So Claire, there goes your school, and have fun with En-ROADS and these two applications, and everybody else as well. Thank you.
So thank you, Florian. Now, what we've done is we've set up a consortium. Thank you to Professor Martin Hill calling me on Christmas Eve, saying to me, Melanie, there is an EU Horizon 2020 funding bid. And I said, you must be joking. We cannot do 6 months worth of work in 20 days. No, it will be fine, she says. Florian meets with us and says, it's not going to happen. Dr. Ung tries to convince us not to do it. And what does my business partner, Denise Meisner, say? She says, yeah, we can do this. We've got it. It's fine. 20 days later, I'd rather give birth, but we did it. Now, Dr. Ung, you're going to explain to us how important it is to follow the research, because it's all very well and good that we are so altruistic, we are motivated and passionate about this, about delivering this climate literacy, carbon literacy, transition, transformation, and then you bring us all back down to earth and say, hey, does it achieve the core competences? And then we go, we don't know. Can you show us how? So please shed some light on why it is so important to have this research and to ensure that we are delivering this not just to children and teachers, but to all stakeholders and throughout the community as well. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Melanie. I have to say I'm very honored to be in the presence of so many esteemed climate change people, because when you first asked me to join this particular consortium, I was thinking, why me? I don't have a background in climate change. But then, as very aptly demonstrated by everybody that has spoken so far, we need to get around this whole idea that this issue is not going to go away. It's going to be with us for generations and generations to come. But a lot of schools and universities seem to be quite reluctant to integrate this into their programs, even though we have plenty, as Florian said, plenty of evidence that says we have to. And so it dawned on me that actually we have to do something radical. We have to do a paradigm change. And that started with me, because then I had to see, well, where could I come in? How could I change my own paradigm? And so then I started looking at it from the perspective of competencies and outcomes. And I thought, well, perhaps if we could link this maybe with the United Nations SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, as a starting point. And then there are many frameworks around the world, particularly for educators and for learners. But the European Union has two frameworks that are very, very clear in what they set out. And the first one that we decided to look at was the framework for lifelong learning competencies. And one of the key things that we are looking at in this framework is active citizenship. And of course, there are plenty of other competencies that are mentioned. There are 8 in total. And every one of those can be slotted into our beautiful CCE for All program, because well, it includes things like literacy, numeracy, digital skills. So if you're good with all that, you can actually learn the subject matter, which is climate change, integrate that with what you're doing, which is interpersonal skills, because you need that to convince others to adopt a similar mindset. And then also entrepreneurial skills and scientific skills can come together to come up with new ways of protecting our planet. So we thought this program, combining the carbon literacy training from Professor Petra's university, Melanie's eduCCate Global program, and Professor Kapmeyer's En-ROADS training, pulling them all together and putting a framework around it that links to clear outcomes would be the best fit. But we're not just looking at learners, we are also looking at teachers, because under the European Union, there is also a framework for digital competencies for educators. And it's in 3 areas. It's broken down into 3 areas. And the first 2 focus on the educators themselves. So in terms of the educators, what are their own professional competencies as far as education digitally is concerned? And the last year has shown more clearly than any other year before that the pandemic has forced us all to look at new ways of delivering education, and that is predominantly online. So we definitely need to have digital educational skills. And then the other thing too is it's great that you can use a PowerPoint or Zoom or any of the other technologies that we use to deliver online education, but we also must not forget pedagogy, because it's one thing to teach in front of a classroom where you have everybody in front of you and you can observe their reactions to what you say and you can adapt yourself accordingly. But what happens when that person is 1,000 miles away and perhaps you can't see them and you can't react to them in the same way? So you also need to adapt your pedagogy. And so by combining all the ideas in the different trainings that we've got in this beautiful program, we have been able to look at how to change our own pedagogy to maximize the benefits of this program to the students. And then the last aspect of the DigComp Edu framework is the learners, because you have to make sure that they don't just listen, but they have to absorb, process, understand, and be able to come up with outputs that are in line with your original objectives as educators. So that's how we try and bring everything in together, and hopefully before too long we will be able to unveil a very special program to the world. Thank you, Melanie.
Thank you, Julian. Now the question on everybody's lips is, how do we pay for this? Because that's all we ever hear, is that we don't have any money. So Alan Green from Blue Castle is going to be explaining a very, very interesting launch that we are going to be working on together. eduCCate Global has partnered, thanks only to Alan's dogged determination to bring us together. We've been on LinkedIn to sort of 24 hours a day, and he said, Mel, come on, let's do this. So Alan has ensured that eduCCate Global has partnered with Blue Castle, which is a recycling and waste management company in the United Kingdom. But the exciting thing about this is that we are going to turn this into the equivalent of Visa. You know, on your bank cards, you get that little Visa symbol. This is going to be the Visa for waste management and recycling globally, managed underneath this umbrella that we are going to be working on. We have attracted the most exciting partners around the world in blockchain, all sorts of crazy stuff. And guess what? It is a Fair Shares Commons partnership. So the teachers and the children are actually shareholders, and they will help us decide where we invest the money that we make from this project. Alan, the floor is yours. Take it away.
Thank you very much. What I aim to do is put a pitch to you, Claire, because by doing so, I hope that all the head teachers or leaders of climate change can see what's on offer. My background was teaching. I finished as a head teacher in Leeds and then did some consultancy with Delta Academies Trust, where the partnership with Blue Castle, before COVID, I was going to help that Academies Trust build some of the strategies that I'm going to talk about with Delta. But COVID got in the way of that, and then by luck, I stumbled across Melanie, and since then I've just been. I say I'm retired, not anymore. Blue Castle have appointed me as non-exec director to act as a bridge between eduCCate Global and the schools and Blue Castle. So, Claire, the first thing we've done, and I'm not going to go on to how you make money yet, as a head teacher, I always wanted to know, is this secure for the kids? Where's the data going? Whatever. And Melanie and I are forming a partnership with a blue chip company who are the greenest hosting company in the country and probably the most secure with government contracts. So that is going to be at the heart of any work we do dealing with data in schools as a result of eduCCate Global. There's the first thing. The second thing is that Blue Castle are looking at an ethical framework that applies a duty of care to waste and to checks on greenwashing. You know, are the products as described for energy? So there'll be an ethical basis to that. That's where then what Melanie's just said around the fair shares, the John Lewis stakeholder model, where the kids feel that they've got, you know, a real ownership of what they're doing and can reinvest into eduCCate Global, either in terms of CPD or in terms of sponsorship or whatever. So the ethical framework and the background and the security, I think, is an important starting point. And then sort of moving on to how that might happen. Certainly, Blue Castle have real expertise in high value waste and how we can use that to get the funds for the school. The second way would be they also broker through third parties for renewable on-site, so that we can replace any fossil fuel, non-green energy sources, and obviously make savings that way. A reduction in cost, LED lighting, other things that I have no expertise in, but new technology around heat pumps, ground-based heat pumps, which again is a new way of saving money. We're looking at the concept of a basket for eduCCate Global schools to be able to get economies of scale with national providers. And again, that is something, and we've had conversations with a large supplier where we could link parental bills in with that basket. The possibility of getting domestic linked with industry, with schools, and to build an eduCCate Global basket that reduces cost through economies of scale. Sponsorship as well. Blue Castle certainly are going to look at the sponsorship in terms of waste, where related to the usage and how Blue Castle can help in schools, that they will also subscribe to the pot for eduCCate Global. And again, discussions have already gone on with energy providers in this country, and I think the framework will be the same globally, that we set up this ethical framework whereby large providers again are going to sponsor eduCCate Global within the schools. I would love to be able now to say to Claire, can we come in? can we see what you're doing? I'm sure you will be much further down the road than many schools, but I still think there'll be ways in which the Blue Castle audit would be able to help. The thing that an HMI always says to you, Claire, you tell them what you're doing, and they'll always say, so what? And the so what is going to be the impact that this project has, not only on your school, but hopefully on your community, through parents, through businesses locally. That a company called Myco, and this is, I'm at the frontiers of my knowledge here, Melanie. I know this has just been discussed with Blue Castle, but a company that will take on the responsibility for monitoring carbon footprint, and Blue Castle will play a role in benchmarking that and then monitoring. Schools actually take ownership of it through the Myco process, but Blue Castle would be there to assist and to help make the changes that are going to make a real impact on the carbon footprint. So, you know, that'll answer the so what question, because I think Blue Castle's contribution is going to be the practical one of helping schools to reduce their costs, to raise revenue, and to reduce carbon footprint. And it fits, I think, I know that Melanie and the owners of Blue Castle had a real discussion about, you know, the partnership and how we hoped it would work. So that's briefly what we're hoping to do, and looking forward to it immensely. And Claire, we need to come and do a pilot with you.
I look forward to it. Let's fix a date.
Yeah, without a doubt. I'll get them in touch with you straight away, Claire.
Absolutely. You're on mute, Mel.
So what we're looking at is Blue Castle will be working with us and all of our waste management partners globally, because obviously eduCCate Global is in, now we're in 349,000 schools in 43 countries around the world. Now have at least one certified eduCCate Global teacher. We are going to be scaling this up. We have a very exciting announcement, and I've been told I'm not allowed to tell you today, but oh, whatever. So what we've done, folks, is we've rebuilt a course. We've taken this amazing course called the Introduction to Climate Change Teaching, and we were going to include it as an introductory process, but we looked at it and we said, well, it would normally cost a teacher £300 to do this, UK pounds. And I said to Denise, why don't we sponsor this for every teacher in the world? And she said, oh, we can't do that. That's 100 million teachers. And then Robert Mackay said, let's do the maths. How many zeros? And he went, £3 trillion. So that's it, folks. You heard it here. Very soon, you're going to be seeing a press release. And we would love for every school, every teacher in the world, all 100 million of you, to sign up. Let's get you started. Let's get Blue Castle in. Let's raise the funding so that we can deliver the CPD, carbon literacy training, NRES teacher training, GCSEs, schemes of work, competencies. We love you madly, and we'll see you on the other side.